for Becoming a Virtual Teacher Session 2 tonight. Last week we had a great session, Dave and I did, and along with Bethany, on how to use video, static video, to reach your kids, to engage your students, or if you're corporate learning, how to reach your learners. So we're just using your iPhone and simple devices to capture video. Dave, what do you want to let people know about tonight from a teacher's role? And Dave, let me introduce Dave real fast too before you. So my name is Rich Boudry. I am in digital learning at Chick-fil-A, former teacher. Spent 10 years in public education in Michigan. Dave, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, first and foremost, I am a father of 4, so the struggle is real for me right now, just like so many of you. My oldest is 14 and wants to just be on his Xbox all day. My youngest is 4 and just wants to be on my hip all day. So I've got the whole gamut there, and I've got some amazing teachers out there submitting work for my kids in a variety of formats. But right now, my own kids are saying, I just want to see my teachers again. I just want to see my classmates again. I just want to be able to connect with them again, which I know that's how a lot of people are feeling. By day, my day job is executive director, curriculum and instruction. In other words, I get to work with teachers and principals all day, every day, trying to figure out tricks and tools like this so that I can share your wisdom and I can make myself seem that much smarter by helping point them in the right direction. So right now, that's what I'm hungry for, and I just cannot wait for tonight.
You know what I like about Dave? I've known Dave for 20, or not 20 years, probably what, 15 years maybe?
You've been stalking me that long, Rich? Wow.
I know, yeah. Well,
maybe 10.
Maybe, I don't know.
A while.
2000s? Yeah, a while. So we taught in the same school district together. And what I love about following Dave's career now that, we've left our school districts we're in, is Dave's mindset, his growth mindset is what I'm trying to say, his growth mindset. He has moved and not have been afraid to move out of the comfort zone and into the place where he's at today, helping teachers get to where they need to be. So Dave, it's been awesome to watch your career.
I appreciate that. I went a lot of years acting like I had all the answers when everybody knew how clueless I was. So being free to say, whew, I have no idea what I'm doing, it's liberating. So join me, world. We have no idea what we're doing. Let's keep connecting with these amazing people.
Awesome. Well, it is 8:05 and we have a great session tonight, and I am thrilled to say that I've worked with everybody on this call, the panelists that you see tonight, Angela, Christy, Dave, and my wife Bethany just jumped in. And I got to tell you, there are some great people here that will hopefully help you with your answer your questions to virtual teaching, because I know all of us are in this space now, and it can definitely be a little scary. I know when I started making those moves, it was very scary to move. And Angela's going to share a little bit of her story, and Christy will as well. And we hope by the end of this evening that you are feeling like you are in good hands and that you can jump in right away tomorrow with possibly leveraging some of these tools. Now, I'm going to introduce Angela and Christy in just a second. Before I do, if you're thinking tonight, what tool can I use? This virtual facilitation tool. Tools that are out there. What can I don't have the money to spend on Zoom or some other tool. Well, I have good news for you. Zoom is free. So I will switch screens here for a second. Zoom is offering 2 educators, and I'm hoping you all can see that my browser here, 2 educators right now. They are offering free accounts. The free account used to be limited to 40 minutes, and it is no longer limited to 40 minutes. So you get all the bells and whistles. So please check out. I believe all you got to do is log in with your email address. But tonight we're going to talk about Zoom, but really a lot of the things that apply, and Christy will share this in a minute, a lot of these things apply to any virtual platform. So she'll share a little bit about that in a few moments. But let's go ahead and introduce our panelists. So Angela and Christy, go ahead and unmute your mic. I will let you guys do a little bit of chatting about yourself real fast. So let's start off with Angela, since you're going to be first up tonight, and then I'll let Christy share a little bit about herself. So Angela, please share a little bit about yourself and what you do and where you've come from.
Thanks, Rich. My name is Angela Bird-Reed, everyone, and I am elated to be here. I vividly remember my days in the classroom as a K-5 elementary educator, certified in both general and special needs rooms. So I did a lot of inclusion, co-teaching, and just really immersed myself in all things learning during that time period. But what I've realized is that now I'm teaching in adult learning alongside Rich at Chick-fil-A, Rich and Christy. A lot of those skills were transferable from my time in the classroom, and that is what truly ignites a lot of my passion around facilitation, where I serve as a lead facilitator at Chick-fil-A. So I am thrilled to talk with you all tonight about what transition looks like. I've gone through a lot of transition. I just gave you the iceberg of my story when it comes to my background. If you want to know more, if you want to know more, reach out to me through social media. I could give you the whole gamut. You just have to grab a cup of tea and we'll just chat for a little while. But I'm excited to be with you all tonight. Thanks for what you all do day in and day out.
Angela, I've got to say, I've heard Rich's story, Bethany's story about the skills being transferable, and I'm so excited because that's ultimately our goal as educators, is to make everything we teach our students transferable. So if we're not modeling it from here, there's no way our students are going to get it. So thank you for saying that. It was so relevant.
I agree. I truly agree. I've seen it.
Christy, go ahead and share us a little bit about yourself. You're muted though. You got to unmute you. I got you. There you go.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rich. Good evening, everybody. My name is Christy Evans, and I am an English major, former high school English teacher, and also taught middle school. I will be celebrating 30 years with Chick-fil-A July 30th of this year. So I took everything I learned in the classroom and it transferred right over into my role at Chick-fil-A. Interestingly, though, I spent 25 years in IT. 25 of my 30 were in IT, and I was on mainly a learning and communication team. So in that role, I played a lot of different, put on a lot of different hats. I was an instructional designer. I was a content producer. I worked as a technical trainer mainly because, of course, we did tons of technical training being in an IT department, and so did a lot of analyst work and specialist work with our help desk. But honestly, everything I have ever learned, it seems like it all circles around to learning something and then sharing that back out. And that honestly is absolutely the joy of my life.
Excellent. Awesome. Super happy to have you with us, and I'm glad you made that transition.
Can I just say how inferior I feel right now? I feel like, oh my gosh, I hope that you guys are going to just be able to take some baby steps for me today.
Oh, well, I looked at everybody's, many different people's credentials, and I'm honestly, I looked at what was up in front of us today, Rich, and I was like, I don't think I'm equipped to do this. We've got people with master's degrees and doctorates, and I don't have either one of those, but I am happy to share anything that I've learned along the way. So I'm the one who feels very inferior at this point.
Oh.
You've got a doctorate in Chick-fil-A learning. How's that?
There you go.
And quickly, I forgot about my wife here, Bethany. Bethany, real fast.
I'm Bethany Boudry. I'm also in the learning space. I'm in corporate learning with a SaaS company here in Atlanta, Georgia.
And a former teacher.
And a former teacher.
10 years
yes, 10 years of teaching. So
good mix here of all kinds of careers. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to hand things off to Angela. So Angela, let's first of all, before I hand it off completely, everybody, just so you know, we are using Zoom webinars. Zoom webinars is a little bit different than Zoom meetings, which you would use when you're facilitating. So everybody on here is trained in Zoom meetings. So there may be a few features that we're going to share with you tonight that just aren't here in Zoom webinars, the webinar version. So I just want to preface that before we get started, just in case as we present, we share some things with you like, hey, I don't see that, because it's a little different than what we use in a real virtual facilitation session. We had to go with webinar just for some other features to be able to broadcast this like we are. So with that, Angela, I'm going to let you go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing and let you take over.
Awesome. Thanks, Rich. So I want to get started with some engagement. We have the chat feature there. So if you would go ahead and navigate to where you all see the chat. We've already been communicating with Chris Magnus, who's on with us, but go ahead and locate where that chat feature is, and let's just create a moment of transparency. I'm getting my Brene Brown on, so to speak. So let's talk a little bit about transparency. And since we're talking about transition, I would love for you, if you're a bit apprehensive about this entire transition process, maybe from going into this virtual digital world, just pop in there, yes, an amen, a thumbs up. Just give me something in that chat box. Yeah. Yeah, Kenley, I get it. I was there too. We're still there as we navigate new things now with what's going on in the world. When you think about it, many people, whether they've thought that far ahead or not, have really had to come to the realization of the way I've done things isn't the way that I can continue to do things as we are now in this time. So if you're apprehensive, hey, I've been there with you, and know that you're not alone. So as you can see, Kathleen, absolutely, that's correct. Connie with the thumbs up. Anna, thank you all, to say the least. Right, Todd? Right, to say the least. Kim, so true. Hey, Susan, we've all been scared at some point. So thanks for that. I just wanted to go ahead and just break through that barrier, because we're going to release it right there in the chat. If you were nervous or scared before, after this time, I hope that we've put your nerves to ease. And what we've already said in the beginning, you all are amazing. You come with such a depth of knowledge and understanding. We're just here to help instill that confidence, but also give you the resources and tools that we've seen, we've tested, we've tried, and we've used to create engagement and interaction with our learners. So thanks everyone for just creating that moment of transparency. I want to give a quote real quick to get our time started. And it comes from a very wise person who has historically been there in my life through a movie that I think everyone will know when I say this. Change is good, but it's not easy. Who can type in the chat box where that quote comes from? I don't have a prize to give you. Maybe Rich or Dave does. But if you know where that quote comes from, type it in the chat box. Change is good, but it's not easy. Hey, Chris, I can give you a thumbs up. That's about all I got.
Is there a way to do a virtual hug? How do we do that?
He said, I'll take it. He said, I'll take it.
Okay, we're good then.
So it might stump you now, but when I say the name Rafiki, then you'll know exactly where that came from. So Rafiki was very wise, and I've watched that movie thousands of times. But yep, change is good, but it's not easy. And when you think about it, he was talking to Simba in a point in time in his life where he didn't expect all of those things to happen. And things just happened the way they did. As I think to where you are now as an educator and the future of where you want to take your training to meet the needs of your students and to grow alongside them in this new virtual world, that quote came to me top of mind. Change is good, and it can be really good, but it's not easy all the time. But the important piece to remember with that is the more tools, resources, and the more you have a circle around you, that's what helps make the change easy. So when you don't have the support is when it gets a bit hard. So tonight, I hope that we are that support for you. I'm going to take you through a bit of what I've experienced when it comes to going from purely being instructor-led, now moving into the virtual space. 3 things that really helped me that I hope will help you too. And this, I want to make sure that I reiterate to each of you that are on with us tonight. You've been teaching and engaging and interacting with students for years. That's nothing new to you. And thank you for all that you've been doing and pouring out. But now you can do that on a larger and different scale, just adapting what you've already done, the skills that you have, the skills you possess, and just really putting them into a different platform. When you truly think about it, that's what it is. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And I kept it very concise. I like the number 3. I've got a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, Steel and Storm. Storm's my 3-year-old. So I thought these 3 points here would be good just to get us started and just to talk about what exactly we're going to walk through. So the first point you see there is learn. I am naturally curious. I believe I just am naturally bent with that skill set. Historically, if you go back and ask my kindergarten teacher all the way probably through my high school teacher, they would say that I was a student that loved to ask why or seek more information, or if no one else was doing it, could I do it? I want you to apply that beginner's mindset to what you're doing now. So I want to see in the chat box, how long have you all been teaching? Just pop it in there. I would love to know how long you've been teaching. I'm going to go back to see my chat box. All right, we've got 10 years, 21 years, excellent, 20 plus years, 28 years, excellent. So teaching is like riding a bike to you, nothing new. But this new modality in which you do it, as some of you shared, can be scary. I want you to think back to your first year. For those of you that have been 30 years, wow, Todd, thank you for your service. Amazing. Take a step back all the way to when you first became an educator and think about that beginner's hat and that beginner's mindset that you had. Now, transfer that, fast forward to where you are now. I want you to think about that as we talk about that first bullet of learn. So when you think about learning, we've been talking tonight about the Zoom platform, but as Rich shared, this is just one of the many that we're picking to use tonight. Whatever platform you choose to adopt, if you haven't already, dig in deep. Dig in and learn everything that you can about it. I know for me, when I first started in virtual, there were a few platforms I'd heard about, but two that stood out in particular. So one Zoom, the other one was Adobe Connect. Those were just the two that I'd heard from different people in the industry and those even colleagues that I had at Chick-fil-A that stood out above the rest in some aspect or another. But whichever one you do choose to select, make sure you dive in and understand the ins and outs of the platform. When you think about it,
Angela, can I ask a question?
yeah,
real quick?
jump in, Dave.
I'm sorry, I want to ask this. I don't know if anybody else is thinking it right now.
Yeah.
But right now we're in this time of uncertainty and unknown. So a lot of us are just grabbing onto the first thing we see.
Right.
And some people might just be tuning into this saying, okay, I guess Zoom is where I'm going. Say that somebody grabs onto Zoom and they dive into this tool, but then a month from now, their district adopts Adobe Connect or Google Meet. So I'm like, are these things, is the usability fairly consistent from tool to tool? Once you figure out one, is it transferable to others?
It can be.
Okay.
It can be. So that's where I want people to think about. The example is perfect. The setup the example is about to use. So when you think about it, I have an Android. Many of you may have an iPhone, but you may not have always had that particular one. When I think back to my first phone, it was a Nokia. Then I had a Motorola. Then I had another brand after that. But it's that same thought process. They all can do the same thing, which we want to reach others and communicate and use all of those things that a phone does. But you have a preference. I've heard from some people on different groups that they prefer one platform over the other. But when you think about it, each of those platforms can be a part of your toolbox. Because say, for instance, yeah, your district may get Adobe Connect and adopt it, but what if Adobe Connect goes down? You still need to teach and reach your students. So just being able to know which one you have most comfort with is beneficial because we all have our preferences, just as you do in the classroom. Some of you prefer to do a certain order of things for your students. Some of you prefer to do a different one. Same thing there. So I wouldn't eliminate one just based on the learning curve. Think about it as you're learning different tools to do the same job. So just like a mechanic that has a toolbox, same thing for virtual teachers. You need to have that toolbox well equipped in case something goes awry with one platform, or with one platform and might not do something that another does. Does that help, Dave?
Oh, that's perfect. I'm even just thinking transference from, I used to see my kids daily in my classroom face to face, but now I can't. If I still have the same definition of what is engagement or what's it mean to facilitate a conversation, that should transfer even via computer screen. So yeah, that helped tremendously. Thank you.
Oh, good. My pleasure. My pleasure there. Thank you. So that was a strong recommendation when it comes to just learning. So when you think about that, apply your beginner's hat, apply your beginner's mindset, try different ones, soak in as much as you can. And going back to what Dave was saying, there can be a lot of noise online when it comes to virtual platforms. Don't let that overwhelm you. You have resources, you have tons of people, even online here, that can help navigate you and guide you to credible sites that have information, how-tos, do-it-yourself, do's and don'ts, etc. But I also encourage building a circle as well, and we'll talk more about that in the third point. So for that number 2, where you see lean, and it really should be more like a lean in. So once you adopt a platform or platforms that you say, hey, these are great, I feel comfortable in my understanding of this, I've tried it out a bit, and shout out to that free version. I was like, do I still have access to my old teacher credentials? I was thinking that, no. Shout out to that free version for teachers, because I get it. I mean, you don't want to fully go all in with something and you're not sure exactly how it can help you. So think about when you are adopting your platform, lean into it and lean into it hard. Get with colleagues, talk through the platform, go ahead and start interacting with them as if they're your students through the platform. I know for Christy and I, that's been very beneficial for our team in this world where a lot of our facilitators, they are touching virtual platforms now, and they've never had to do this in their career. We have a couple of team members that have been working 20 plus in adult training and adult learning and delivery, and this is a huge first for them. So they've had to take a step back, take a deep breath, and truly say, hey, you know, like many of you that answered, you know, Todd, 30 years, Connie, 12 years. Hey, I've been doing this for a long time, but I've been doing it a certain way. I'm going to lean in to you and your understanding of what this new modality means for what I've known historically to be a different way. That does not negate your expertise. So again, lean into the platform, the tools, and people that can help you, but also lean into your expertise. And I want to ask a question now that you can just pop in the chat. Pop up something that your students truly enjoy that you do. Think about it. Is it a certain way you warm up in the mornings? Is it a particular game that you do? Is it an activity that you do with your students? Kim, you put read alouds. That's wonderful. That is excellent. So some of you just share some things that your students currently now enjoy that you're doing. Science lab we do each week. Oh, that's wonderful. Ron Clark houses, morning meeting. I just learned about that actually last Friday. Another mom asked me, are you doing a morning meeting with your students while you're at home? And I said, is that the part where we're brushing teeth and getting out of pajamas halfway? So she's like, no, it's totally different. But yeah, a morning meeting, painting and clay. Excellent. Start with a pun. Strong cue set. These are good. And I'm glad you all thought about it and popped it in. And it didn't take long for you to do that because you know what your students enjoy. Now, think about each of those things that you just put up there and how engaging those are with your students. Think about them in a virtual platform. How can you take that same excitement they have around those morning meetings, or you could, Todd and Anna, you could run with making them laugh and starting each day with a pun. I'm already thinking of ways you could do that with different things, such as a Kahoot or something that you could integrate into a virtual platform to help you with that. Regina, vocabulary word of the day is excellent. There are excellent things that you can do. I know Rich recently told me about Pigeonhole, but I know Wordle is another one that you could do as a way to engage students virtually with that. So here's the thing I want you to think about. As each of you just put those up there are virtual ways in which you can do the same thing you've been doing face-to-face in the classroom. You probably just don't know about it. And that's where the support comes in the third point. Leverage the creativity that you already have now. You guys have a ton of years of experience. Don't let the learning curve of being a beginner in this particular path erase all of that. You know how to teach your students. You know how to engage them. You know what creates the best interactivity with them. Now you can leverage it through a virtual platform, but having resources is a huge part of that. So I encourage you, start building your circle. That was a huge part for me with leveraging resources and knowing that while I'm leaning into my creativity, someone else may have something that not necessarily better, but may function well or have a resource that functions well within the particular platform that I'm choosing to use.
Angela, if I can just
yeah.
interrupt, one of the things that scares me about all this though is I've been paid for a lot of years as an educator to be the expert for my students.
Yeah.
And now stepping out and admitting I don't know something right now is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so, first of all, I'm
Yeah.
super grateful for you and Christy and for Rich and Bethany to step up and say, let us help you along this path.
Yeah.
But I think that this leverage piece and the leaning in piece are so critical, but they're probably harder even than learning something. You know, I think right now I kind of want to just be this passive consumer and just have somebody just tell me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not going to help me in the long run. So I appreciate you letting us just chat with you right here and use the Q&A just to ask some very real and vulnerable questions. Like one of the questions I was just thinking through truly a few minutes ago, I'm going to say it now, I apologize. But earlier you asked us to type something in the Q&A and then you said you can just put it here in the chat. And I had to pause for a second and say, do I know the difference between those? I mean, that's how far back I am from this.
Right.
So thank you, first of all, for your grace as we go through this. I'm sure it's going to get
Certainly.
deeper. And I'm throwing this out there for anybody else that's watching, saying, I don't know what they're talking about. Me either. We're in this together. So let's just keep going.
Yes, thanks, Dave. And you know, that can be a true humbling moment as I look at the decades of experience in that chat box alone. And thank you all so much for sharing that. It can be tough. And I think adults are the hardest students. It can be tough for us at times to really put on the hat of Curious George, as I say with my boys. I really gave birth to 2 real life Curious Georges. They ask why all the time, y'all. But there is something admirable, but also a strong leadership quality about that as well. When you truly dig in with the beginner's mindset of, hey, I don't know, but that's where it's got to continue. Not just I don't know, let me find out. And adding that second piece on is where you build your resources, you build your network, and you lean into those people that, hey, they may have a handful of years of experience in education, but they know digital and virtual, or they have decades of years, but it's just a natural characteristic of them to lean into this tech piece more. So don't be afraid to broaden that circle, put on that beginner's hat, and become a student, because all the while you're learning this, your students are too. So you're having those light bulb moments in the same time. And I'll be honest, I haven't gotten it right all the time either. I remember introducing something in my classroom when I was teaching. At the time, all I had was an active board. You can type in chat if you know about using an active board. And I was so excited to use it, but what I didn't understand was the fact that I really didn't skill my children up to understand how to interact with it. Because I had practiced on it and participated in using it in our training, the students hadn't. So the engagement I thought I was going to get, I really didn't get. So that's my encouragement with each of those 3 parts, especially with that leverage piece. Put on the beginner's hat to learn about all the platforms. Lean in hard with them. Yep, Promethean board, that's right, Bethany. And then leverage all the resources, whether that is through virtual forums, different webinars as you're on now, and kudos to you all for joining, but also just having one-on-one time with some people that can truly help you in understanding how to make what you currently do now, just enhance it to a virtual platform for your students. That's all I have, David.
Right on. That's really
Toss it back to Rich.
So that's great stuff. Really good stuff. So learn, lean in, and leverage. A great tip. So thank you, Angela, for sharing that. Now, next up to bat is going to be Christy Evans. So, Christy, I have, she's about to, I just unmuted you, so you should be good to go here. So you saw Angela, everybody just saw Angela. She was facilitating the way a virtual facilitator was. And yeah, she was asking you to do some things. She was engaging you in different ways. And maybe you're used to learning yourself in these webinar sessions. So there are more, we're using, like I said earlier, we're using webinar, and webinar comes with just a limited amount of tools. They're meant more for broadcasting out to big people and having some interactions, some limited interactions. Now, the Zoom meetings, which is the free version Zoom is offering now, it has some other features that allow you to do things, and Christy's going to talk about those features in her presentation. Now, unfortunately, some of those features we won't be able to use because we had to use this tool. So she's going to have screenshots of some of those things and talk through some of that. So just so you know, normally you'd have more interaction with some of the stuff she's going to share. But before, Christy, you go into the how to use a tool like Zoom, could you just take like a second or two to share about your transition to being a virtual facilitator? Because I tell you what, Christy and Angela are both rock stars at Chick-fil-A, but I have watched Christy over the past several weeks just like jump into the deep end and embrace it all. And she is one of our top virtual facilitators right now. And I think she might be, Angela, she might single-handedly be saving Chick-fil-A right now. So making sure all the operators
add me on record for that. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So she is training up all the, along with Angela, she is training up all of the Chick-fil-A virtual facilitators right now. So, Christy,
Can I interject real quick, because
Yeah.
I've got my educator hat on, and like the awareness that I just got. So you all work for Chick-fil-A, but what's going on right now is not just an educator issue. We all have learners all over the place that are no longer learning the same way that they used to learn. Chick-fil-A is like the place to be when you are going out to eat, except for on a Sunday. So I'm sure we're good to go right now. But you guys have a job where you have to train all of these stores, all these restaurants to continue to make those biscuits and chicken sandwiches the way that Chick-fil-A expects those biscuits and chicken sandwiches to be made. And you can't go there and see them. So, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, this is just something you guys have done. You've done it this way forever. But no, this is your new reality too. Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
Absolutely.
Keep going. Sorry.
Is my mic on, Rich?
Yeah,
you're talking. Yep.
That is so true, Dave. And I will tell you this, before transitioning to restaurant training 2 years ago, I spent a huge amount of my time in IT training our analysts to support our restaurants, our operators, and our team members from the technology standpoint. And we have, over the last probably 8 months, placed a lot of that information into a digital platform. And because we realized it was coming, and it was coming very, very quickly. And we're just very thankful that that we are at least a little bit prepared, because there was no way we could have known what was going to hit 2 weeks ago, not only to, Chick-fil-A, but to pretty much every company in the US and all over the world. So we come into tonight just realizing that learning is changing very, very rapidly. And as Angela shared, I don't think it's ever going to be the same again. I think we're going to all be encouraged to learn in different ways. One of the things that I'm seeing that's very different from Zoom meetings is I can't see my participants, Rich. Is there any way through the webinar that I can see my participant faces?
Yeah,
or do you only see the panelist view of individuals?
That is one of the problems with webinar. So
that's okay. This
yeah.
is great, because I can point out throughout the session a little bit of the differences between webinar and the meeting portion of Zoom. So one of the things I'm just going to tell you up front, everybody, is I miss seeing my faces, and I want you to know that when you start a virtual classroom with your students, that you're going to be able to see their faces, and that builds that connection. That helps you build that strong relationship. So what I'd like to do is ask you, while I screen share my slides, that I would like to know, what age groups do you teach? So in the chat panel, while I'm pulling up my screen share, can you let me know what grades you teach, please?
And Christy, while they're doing that, can you just explain how in the world do you share your screen? I mean, people can do that.
I'm going to show you all kinds of toolbars, because we're going to have to work off of slides tonight, because we're in webinar rather than in the meeting functionality. So hold that and hold me accountable, Dave, because I'm going to get to that, and it'll help me if I have a slide to show you. So give me just a sec here. All right, so I'm looking up. I've got 4th grade, kindergarten, 5th graders, 2nd graders, 7th grade science, pre-K, wonderful. Biology, high school biology, that's fascinating. This is awesome. Adult learners, good. Okay, so that is exciting. So we have pretty much across the board, which is fantastic. I am trying now to load my slides in full screen mode. I hope everyone can see that. And I will tell you this, if we were in meeting, when I ask you, I hope everyone can see that. I would be asking you on that participant panel to give me either a green check mark or a blue thumbs up, because the amazing thing about the meeting functionality of Zoom is, on this participant panel, you as the facilitator, you get to see across the bottom, and your participants get to see across the bottom communication icons. There are check marks, there are X's, there are little clock faces. There are thumbs up, thumbs down, be louder, go slower. It's just a phenomenal way that you can engage and literally just look up on another screen and see if there's a question, or if somebody's following you, or if somebody's with you, or you need to slow down and you need to backtrack and let someone ask a question. So I'm going to miss that quite a bit, but honestly, as I go through my presentation, I'm going to tell you how I'll be using that panel if I had that panel up.
You know, Christy, I will say this. There are a lot of the tools that teachers do have access to today don't have those features. So this is kind of a cool way to see, you know, when you don't have those features, what it's like. So this is kind of cool too.
Yeah.
So
I cannot say enough good, like I've used GoToMeeting, I've used Adobe Connect, I've used some different tools, and I'm sure that many of you have as well. But I will say that it has been the easiest to embrace Zoom as far as a virtual platform, because of all the different ways you have to engage your learner. So I'll be talking about those, and if you have any questions, just ask me along the way. I would like to start off by, I have to share the best part about my life. And the reason I want to share the best part about my life tonight is because this kind of goes into my presentation. So this is my family. My husband of 31 years is on the right. His name is Dan. He works for Delta Airlines, and he works in the IT department. I think I've seen him just very little over the last 12 days. As you know, the airlines is really struggling, and some of you tonight may be in the same situation that he and I are in, and we just have to have faith and be strong and say our prayers, and we have to help one another get through this. To the left, I have the young woman who's in the rest dress is my oldest daughter, Elizabeth, and that's her husband, Joshua, on the end. Elizabeth and Josh work full-time, but they are working on their master's degree at night. So they are in virtual learning every night and throughout the weekend. And I try to connect with them very, very consistently to learn about their experience so I can learn as a facilitator. And I have learned so much from them, and it's going to be an ongoing learning because they just started their master's program. The youngest daughter, my husband and I have two daughters. So my youngest daughter's in the middle. Her name is Stacy, and Stacy is in her first year of medical school at the University of Texas Southwestern in Dallas, Texas. And as you know, it has been just overwhelming for the medical field with COVID, with the virus. And she actually is no longer allowed to go into the hospital, and all of her classes have been, she was doing a ton of online and a ton of labs, a ton of hospital work, and now her whole curriculum is completely online. And she has some very, very strong opinions about online learning, virtual classroom. They used Zoom very recently. So I'll try to integrate that into my presentation as I go through the different features for all of us as facilitators, and just to hear their learner perspective and what it's like on that other end. And I think that's the biggest tip I could share with you is we can learn all of this functionality and all the bells and the whistles, the break rooms, the annotation toolbar, the communication icons, the chat, but we have got to remember the learner in all of this. We have to step out of ourselves and step into their shoes, the learner's shoes. And with the experience I see on this screen, and I know you have got to love students to be in education as long as all of you have, don't forget about the learner. And if you keep the learner first and foremost in your mind, you're going to do phenomenal when it comes to online virtual training. So let's dive right in, and I want to start here with taking a poll first. And I'm really hoping that my polls will work. And in order to get my poll to work, I'm going to try to see if I can access it. And you know what? I don't see it on my toolbar. So Rich,
I got you covered.
Do you have me covered?
I got you covered.
Teamwork. So let's go ahead and flash our very first poll, if you would, please, sir. Mm-hmm. And I'm really used to managing my whole classroom. And I would recommend as soon as you can play around and learn how to manage your own classroom. It makes you feel like you are more engaged yourself and you have control control of being able to read your students and know what to do next. So this is our very first poll. What virtual platforms have you used as a teacher? Let's go ahead and make our selections, and if you would please submit your answers. And the great thing about Zoom is it allows you the capability, once all of you submit your answers, we're going to be able to share out what everyone's submissions were. So as soon
And
as
my mind
you
is
see
already
that,
blown. My mind is blown.
so as
That's
soon as you
crazy.
see
You're going to
that,
show me how you did that, right?
I'm going to show you.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have another session where we can teach y'all some of these tools from the meeting platform. Rich, can you end that poll and share out the answers for me, sir?
Absolutely. Here it goes.
Okay, let's see what we got,
I'm gonna
folks.
share results. There you go. You should all see
Okay,
the
you hold
results.
your breath and you see it. So we've got some of the folks have done WebEx. Many people have done Zoom. Isn't it amazing that it's free for us? And then Google Hangout, and then BlueJeans. And I've never facilitated virtually. So this is phenomenal. We got people with a little bit of experience everywhere. So if you'll close out that poll for me.
I have to comment on that. Only one person said they virtually taught in BlueJeans. Come on now. Every Friday is BlueJeans Day as a teacher, right?
Hey, Rich, can you send out one more poll for me, please, sir?
I
The
sure
next
can.
one, poll 2.
Mhm.
One more poll before I dive a little bit deeper with you guys. So this next poll that's going to flash up, I want you to read it, and it's going to pop up a question. What do you think we're doing in this evening session? Is this a virtual meeting? Is it a webinar? Is it asynchronous training? Is it synchronous virtual classroom? What would your answer be? Just pick one quickly, and then when all the responses are in, Rich is going to flash my poll results up.
I got 13 people have
All
voted.
right,
So
fantastic.
a few more would be great. And I'll give you 5 seconds if you see that.
Okay, and let's show the poll.
And here we go. Good. Awesome. There we go.
Here we go. Now, we know tonight, because Rich has already shared, that we are participating in a webinar. But if I was using Zoom meeting, tonight would be all about synchronous virtual classroom. And let me tell you why. Can you close that out for me, Rich?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. You've been so fantastic to help me out with that. Because we would be literally interacting as I go through every step of this presentation. We're going to be just slightly limited tonight, but no worries. You'll get a taste and get to learn about the different pieces of functionality where you can literally, with your students, do the synchronous virtual classroom. And I'm not going to take the time to read all these definitions because you all are 10,000 billion times more educated than I am. And I want to focus on the synchronous virtual classroom, which is where it's highly interactive. It's engaging. It's where the participants are able to interact with you as the teacher. They're able to interact with one another, and they're also able to interact with the screen. Honestly, it's just like a live classroom. You're just using technology to be able to accomplish that. So our objective during my time with you is to learn how to engage an audience in a virtual setting. Very simple, one objective. Okay, here we go. I want to start out tonight by talking about the participant navigation tips. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is from that meeting portion of setting up a meeting in Zoom. That is a meeting that you would send out to your students, and it will be considered that virtual classroom, that synchronous virtual classroom experience. I want to use this right now to talk through some of the tips as far as the toolbars and the navigation. Tonight, with your Zoom account, I want you to take a note right now for me, and I want you to make a note to go out. First of all, set up your Zoom account. That's free. I love free stuff. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to go to the settings bar on the left-hand side of that Zoom virtual account that you're going to set up. And I want you to make sure that you read all the settings and look out for the breakout room setting, because that is generally disabled when you go in and set up your account. And what you're going to want to need to do as a teacher is to go in there and enable breakout rooms and different pieces of functionality that we're going to talk about tonight. So if you get into this and you can't find some of the tools that I'm sharing tonight, they'll hopefully give you my contact information, and I'll do it at the end. Reach out to me, send me a text, send me an email, and I'll help you go through your settings, because the settings are the key to get those set up so you have as much functionality to leverage the engagement as you go through interacting with your students. First thing I want to show you is the toolbar that the actual participants are going to see, that your students are going to see. You're going to need to train them the first time that you have a virtual setting with them, how to use their tools. You need to do that immediately so they're going to know how to respond to you and interact with you. So across the bottom, you're going to want to ask them, hey guys, I want you to hover across the lower portion of your screen. And when you hover, you're going to see a toolbar display. And on that toolbar, we're going to talk about what's on that, because guess what? That's the fun way we're going to be able to communicate with one another throughout our lesson time today. So you're going to see the mute button, and you're going to ask the students, hey, okay, we got to play by the rules. Just like we got rules in our normal classroom, we got to play by the rules online. So if you're not talking, you need to mute yourself. And now I'm going to tell you why, because you need to understand the why behind why I'm asking you things in this virtual world. It's because if we all had our microphones on at the same time, we would have so much echo. We'd have dogs barking in the background, brothers and sisters crying, somebody's falling in, like blood's everywhere in the living room because somebody was tossing a ball around. So you got to mute unless I'm asking you to speak to the classroom. And also, I want to see your bright and shining faces. So hello, I don't care if you got your ball cap on, we got to start that video, because we have got to see everybody, because we're all together in the classroom. Next, I want to point out a really, really important panel. It's how you see the engagement piece and use those communication icons. It is this participant little icon here, and I'm going to show you that screen in just a second. See how if I were to tap that in the meeting, this participant panel would pop up, and look how amazing this is. Can you see my mouse move around here? This, I want to show you. Here's the little yes. So whatever you're doing with them to keep them with you and engaged, you need to say, hey, give me a green check mark on that. Hey, if you can't see this, give me that red X, because I know we got to get you up to speed here. You got to get with the classroom. We got to all stay on track together. Then there's a little more button. I love this more button. See, that's where you got your thumbs up, I'm with you, or my thumbs down. I don't like that idea, Miss Christy. We got to go to something else. And then we've got some really cool things when it comes to virtual learning. See this coffee cup? This is one I didn't know about till I became in learning about the different Zoom pieces of functionality. The coffee cup lets them know, hey, I need a break. I need a restroom break. Okay, we've been going a little bit too long. And then we've got the face here. This is where I need to step away for just a few minutes. In the business world, that's oftentimes when I need to step away to take a call, like a really important call from an operator that I absolutely cannot miss, because we are here to serve operators. That's the #1 thing that we do at Chick-fil-A. So
Kristen,
with that said, there's
ask-
another awesome feature that you can incorporate, which is
So as the teacher, when a student clicks those, do you get the notification?
They need to have their panels open. They need to have their participant panel open, Dave, because that's how they get to these little communication icons to communicate with you as the facilitator. And the chat is up because you don't want them all to have that microphone on because of all the echoes that you're going to get. I know when I taught high school English, I taught 31 people per class. Hopefully the teachers have much smaller classes than I had back in the day, but you do need those panels open, and they're open for you as the facilitator as well as for the participants. So those panels are available to both the facilitator and the participant. Was that what you were asking?
That was it. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. All right, so that's your chat. Now, I want to show you another feature. See where this second red arrow is located? It's down here in the bottom portion of this chat panel. This is really great because notice how it defaults to everyone, but if somebody's having a technical difficulty, they can create a private chat with you, the facilitator. If they can't get their video camera to work, or if they can't hear your audio, or you're coming in and out, or the connection is really poor from their bandwidth, that is how they can start a private chat with you as the facilitator, and it doesn't cloud the screen of everything else that's going on in the classroom as far as the chat function. functionality. So I wanted to point out that that is a really great tool that you need to, especially with the older students, the high school. I saw a biology up there. They're going to get that, and they're going to use that because they're going to want to use a lot more of the advanced features than your younger guys. But let me tell you, as soon as you introduce some of this technology to those younger ones, they're going to grab on it too, and they're going to be teaching you things that you could never have taught yourself. And that to me is the most amazing thing about, hey, I love it. This is the one thing I've learned about teaching technology, especially when it comes to using equipment and systems, is it makes the learner feel fantastic when they can teach you something as the facilitator. It makes them feel like they just like start smiling, their eyes get brighter, and that makes them feel like they're a part of the learning process when they can teach you something that you did not know. So I like it, like raise your hand if I'm saying something that you know a better way to do it, because that's how we all learn together. And that's what makes virtual learning so fantastic. Next thing I want to talk about is, we don't know what we're going to be facing. I know my sister teaches in Louisiana. She teaches at a Title I school. I mean, these kids are really poor, and we don't even know what kind of devices they might have, or if they are even going to have any devices at all to use when it comes to virtual learning. So we all need to be praying for these kids, that we find a way to be able to communicate with them so that they can learn. But different students are going to have different devices. So I wanted to quickly show you, some of the students may have an iPhone, but they may not have a computer in their home. Hey, look, that's still a way they can learn and participate. So this is what it looks like from an iPhone. I'm sorry, that's the screen captures I have. It probably looks maybe a little bit differently on an Android, but I just wanted to show you this quickly. So if they connect and they load that Zoom app and they click on the link that you're going to be sending them in an email to this meeting or through a text message, it's going to load, and down here they're going to have a participant panel too. They just tap that button at the bottom of that screen when it comes up on their iPhone. And then the amazing thing is, we are so grateful that on that iPhone, they also have those communication icons, just like if you have a PC in your home, and they have the chat. So no matter if they have a PC, a Mac, or just an iPhone, they're going to be able to engage, and they're going to be able to see your face. They're going to be able to see the faces of the other students in the classroom, and they're going to be able to see screens that you screen share out to them. So please keep that in mind, and you're going to have to be prepared for that as a facilitator and know how to navigate both of those platforms, both the PC, the Mac, and any handheld devices. Now, here's where I wanted to talk about the facilitation toolbar. So your toolbar is going to, of course, have more on it than your participants toolbar. Okay, Rich, you got to keep me honest and accountable because I know I'm getting ready to run out of time, but I'm going to try to go through this facilitator toolbar here.
Got it, go for it.
So on the facilitator toolbar, I want to start down here at the bottom. You've got your mute and your audio just like you have at the bottom, but you have what's called manage participant. So you've got to speak the language of your learner. If I were to say to them, hey guys, I need you to look at the bottom of your screen and I need you to click on that manage participant icon, they're going to be raising their hand. They're going to be asking you in chat, I don't see that. Oh my goodness, Miss Christy, I can't find that. Guess why? Because on their toolbar, it's just called participants. It's not called manage participant. That can be a huge gap and it can create confusion. So be sure that you're aware of the differences between what the student's toolbar looks like versus your toolbar as the facilitator. Also, you have two amazing tools down here that, of course, your learners cannot see. One would be the polls, and tonight Rich was kind enough to shoot off two of the polls for me. And you have breakout rooms. Okay, we're going to hopefully get to breakout rooms for just a minute, but I wanted to point out that this is your facilitator toolbar. Also, oh my goodness, I'm not going to have enough time. So if I can help any of you, send me an email and I'll do a little bit of different sessions with y'all, some one-on-ones or some more smaller groups. But up here, this is so fantastic. It's a collaboration tool, and you're going to need that to be able to get in there and collaborate and really get your students excited about online learning and virtual learning. And this is the way to do it. This is so amazing. We don't have time tonight because I think we've got just 5 more minutes. But if we ever get to come back and do an actual meeting where you get to have the engagement piece, this is where you share screen out. You open up this whiteboard. It's just like having a whiteboard in your classroom. And all the students have the opportunity to draw on it. They can like use these little stamps, as you can see right here. It lets them put stars by different things that they love. They can put hearts by the things they love even more than the stars. And look, Zoom has something that I've never seen any other tool have. It has a T here for text. It's a text tool. I cannot draw. You're going to have some amazing drawers though in your classroom, okay? Hey, listen, I don't know how to draw anything, but I can type like crazy and I can get my students' attention when I start typing. So this functionality gives you the T for text. So that teacher literally can type out just like he or she is writing on a chalkboard or on an overhead. So this is an amazing way to learn. And guess what? You can turn control over to your students and they can write the next thing. And it really forces them to pay attention, to learn, hey, I'm gonna have to do this in a minute. I better figure out how to use this tool and get on board with this. And it's gonna be fun because they love playing on the computer. And sometimes they're gonna forget that they're even learning. So with that said, there's an amazing thing. You've got a clear button as an instructor where whatever's going on your whiteboard, you can clear it. It's just like erasing your chalkboard. And you can save it. You can save amazing things that your students come up with. And it saves down and you can refer back to it. And it can make them feel like they're owning and becoming part of their learning process. I want to talk a little bit about, in the 3 minutes I have left, I want to talk a little bit about break rooms. So just let's get past this little screen here. And we're going to go on to break rooms. And I want to talk a little bit about what break rooms are. My daughter, who's in med school in Dallas, Texas, they used break rooms very recently. And her experience the first time using it with Zoom was just like mine. It was very, very confusing. So I would love to be able to come back and talk about, not only talk about break rooms more, but let's practice break rooms. Because honestly, for a facilitator to be able to use this effectively, you really got to learn the ins and outs and all the little pieces of functionality so that you can be in control of those break rooms, but most importantly, so you can explain what's going to happen from that learner perspective. So you can really get your students on board of what happens when you place them into a break room for collaboration. So with that said, a break room is just like when you're in your classroom and you want to do like group activities. That's what a break room allows you to do virtually learning. You have this large group of 20 students and you know that you cannot facilitate learning with all of them at the same time. So guess what you do? You table it out. You break out your activities per table, and break room functionality in Zoom allows you that capability. When it places them into that virtual classroom, they can't hear all the other groups doing their activities. They only hear the 3 or 4 or 5 people in their own room. They get their own virtual classroom. How cool is that? They get their own whiteboard and they get to actually facilitate that activity together as a group. And then you are able, there's an ask for help button. So if they have any questions, they just click that button. You pop as a facilitator right into their classroom, answer any questions they have. And then maybe another little breakout sessions, they have another question for you. And I am not naive. I know that you cannot do this with every age group, but you've got to take some risk with this. You've got to get them excited. You got to try things. Hey, it may not work the first time you use it, but you're going to know as a facilitator, you're going to know what didn't go right, and you're going to process it and think about it and say, you know, I'm trying this again. I'm doing this a little bit differently. I'm going to keep working this till we are able to use this as a learning tool, an effective learning tool. So we're right at 9 o'clock and I am out of time tonight, but I just am so thankful for the opportunity I've had to be able to build some relationships and be able to share just a little bit with you tonight.
I gotta say, wow. I feel like, Christy, I feel like you just walked into my house, made me a big old pan of brownies. I've been smelling them for the last 15 minutes. And you said, okay, don't touch. Just wait. You're going to eat those in a couple of days. And now I'm like salivating here. I just want to jump on in. And I just want to eat all the brownies. Or I'm sorry, the biscuits or the whatever it is. I mean, that's how I feel right now. I'm like on the edge of my seat right now. I just want to go play, but I'm afraid that if I play too much, I might break something. What should I do
You can't
next?
break anything. That's the most wonderful thing. You can't break anything.
You know, and we've gotten a bunch of requests in the chat, Christy, that we do a deeper session, because you gave us a really good like high level. This is what is in Zoom. Like these are the cool features. I think if it's the question was asked, if it's up to the facilitators, they would love to have another session where you kind of walk through like how to go in. So actually schedule a session out in meetings and do a session of meetings where you walk through this process and get everybody get their hands dirty a little bit and play.
It would be my pleasure. It would be my pleasure.
Okay, awesome. So you all heard that. Those of you on the call here, we will get that scheduled out and sent out to everybody on that list that signed up tonight, and we'll start broadcasting that for sometime this week. Christy, Angela, Dave, and I, Bethany, will figure out a time to get that on the calendars for y'all. But Dave, go ahead and ask some questions real fast.
No, I mean, I'm seriously just blown away right now, and I'm thinking like, what is the next step? Because teachers that are going to be watching this or are watching it now are probably all over the gamut. Some might be expected to go in and provide some sort of distance virtual learning tomorrow, and some might have a week or two to still play around with it. And I guess I'm just trying to process what am I going to do next with this information. And I think the thing that I'm going to do next is I'm going to create my own meeting with somebody that I know will rip me apart, somebody that will make fun of me, somebody that will kind of humble me a little bit so that I can learn. I don't want somebody that's going to just be blown away and ooh and ah everything. I want somebody that's going to like poke me a little bit. I'm just going to play around. I'm going to try that little break room feature and the whiteboard feature. Like those are things I had no idea even existed. And I've been using Zoom for 2 years. I mean, it's crazy. Seriously, I use Zoom for my podcast. I do the picture-in-picture thing, and I hit record. And that's all I thought Zoom was good for. I am completely blown away right now.
Breakout rooms are the coolest, Dave. I can't wait for Christy to show everybody how to use what it's like. It's a neat experience.
Wow, it's so cool. So cool.
Well, we will schedule that out. I know we do have a session planned for this Wednesday, and if Christy and Angela and Dave and everybody's available to come back, maybe we'll make that Wednesday session. We'll make that a deep dive into Zoom.
Well, I'm just going to put this out here, and I'll let everybody else take it. Whether everybody's available on Wednesday for us to go live or whatever, somehow, some way, we need to do this and make that the next thing. Yes. Whether it's Wednesday, tomorrow, Tuesday, whatever, because I am hungry for my brownies right now.
Oh.
Waffle potato fries. Waffle potato fries.
Together.
All right, I got you.
Awesome. Well, hey, listen, everybody, it is 9:04, and I know we all don't have very many places to be, but we also want to respect everybody's time. And we just had an incredible session from Angela, Christy. We thank you so much, Angela, for sharing the learn, lean, and leverage presentation you gave, the why this is so important and how to get to do that. And Christy, you shared the features of Zoom and how to get in and start playing. And you gave us a lot to walk away with, so we will walk away and start playing with that. So that is everyone, I guess, here on this call, and those that are going to jump on next time. Go sign up for an account. You got to use your school district's domain, so your school district's email address, and that Zoom recognizes that somehow. Get in there, start playing. Come back to our next session. We'll share that with you and share some of your comments and questions and get a deeper, and really see how to make it dance from Christy the next time we all meet. Does that sound good? Everyone go ahead and comment in the chat if that sounds good. I guess I would have said use the thumbs up. We do have a raised hand. Is there a thumbs up version? No, there's not. It's just a raised hand. So anyway, the thumbs up version, you can actually thumbs up people and say good job. Anyway, okay, so good. Let's cut it there and call it a night, everybody. Sound good?
Awesome. That was absolutely incredible. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.